Did you go out and read any information about whether you can actually detect fraud using the biometric system?
In our research, we looked at ways that biometrics would prevent fraud.
Did you ever look at Texas and their use of biometrics? He went into how flawless biometrics is and why it's the top system, and all of these other states that she went to and talked to, and we ought to be able to promise her on what states who have used biometrics have said about it. Did she hear that?
Her direct testimony was on the council, not direct examination, included Louisiana, Oklahoma. She had that.
House is down, Southside, overcrop. Southside, overcrop.
You told Mr. Miracle this morning that you looked at biometrics being used in other states, right?
In Louisiana.
No, well, you said people were using it in other states because it was the best technology.
In Louisiana.
You said that y'all looked at the legal report and there was a nationwide trend toward using biometrics, correct?
The Kiplinger report stated.
No, but that's not what you said this morning. Did you testify that you looked at the legal report, you received a document called the legal report, and there was a nationwide trend that biometrics was the most reliable technology to track?
Your Honor, I would object. We need to go to the court to read it back. I believe it was the Kiplinger report that's referenced in the economic impact statement that I questioned her about, she testified about.
All right, sustained.
Okay, so you say it was the Kiplinger report that said that biometrics was the best?
That's what the report said.
Did you look at any other reports that gave the cons against using biometrics?
I don't remember, through our research, I don't remember seeing any cons in the research that we conducted.
Did you find in your research that most states have eliminated finger scanning as a fraud prevention measure due to concerns over cost and the ability to determine its effectiveness in preventing fraud, inconvenience to recipients, and the stigma associated with it?
Your Honor, object unless the issue appears to be really from a document, and I'm not going to object unless there's a foundation laid.
The question was.
Did she consider any studies, or did she read any studies that said that most states are eliminating finger scanning as a fraud prevention measure?
I do not remember seeing anything like that.
Okay, now wouldn't that go, wouldn't you want to know the pros and cons too? If you look at the pros and cons of using an EBT, wouldn't you want to know the pros and cons of using biometrics?
We did look at the pros and cons.
And did you find that one of the cons was that states had stopped using biometrics and finger scanning and fingerprints because they were not able to detect fraud?
I never saw that report.
Did you ever look for it?
We looked at many reports and lots of information from different sources.
But you considered all of the other technology except for biometrics as being outdated?
Biometrics is a system, an automated system that is on the forefront, and we knew that it would not be outdated quickly. And so we
the Mississippi's EBT system is?
No, I did not say that.
Okay, what EBT system is?
Utilizing cards,
So what are they moving towards since that's about to be outdated?
biometrics.
So Mississippi is about to move to biometrics for food stamps.
I did not say that.
In your study and your research, can you explain then if EBT is about to be outdated, why so many other states, all states that are using, electronics systems, as that Mississippi and Louisiana use EBT? If it's such an outdated, about to be outdated system.
I don't know that I can comment about what other states are going to do.
Well, we're talking about what they did in your work, what you found they were doing in your research.
When I talked to other states, there were many that, had wished that it went with biometrics instead of the cards, or are considering going to biometrics instead of the cards.
Did you ever see any studies about biometrics being costly to implement?
No, I did not see that.
And studies related to biometrics having, providing relatively little additional security against identity fraud, a fraud?
And I did not see that in reports.
Well, you only went to one state to find out information, correct?
We visited Louisiana.
Okay, and that's one state, right? Okay. And you didn't bother to go to Oklahoma to view their, EBT or their system?
We did not go to Oklahoma.
And you didn't bother to go to any other state? Alabama, close by, they use EBT, correct?
Your Honor, I'm sorry, to go
This day.
One of the advantages of biometrics, you said, was that it was going to help y'all cut the administrative costs, right?
Yes.
And that it was going to eliminate the paper-based system. Correct?
It would help eliminate, yes. paper-based.
But I found, Dr. Dent, that y'all eliminated the paper-based system with e-ledger, that you did?
We did.
So then, if it's
In the
eliminated,
process.
if it's eliminated, then there's nothing for biometrics to eliminate, right?
It was, e-ledger led up to that elimination.
But e-ledger came before biometrics,
If,
and if e-ledger did away with paper-based, then biometrics, it wasn't nothing for biometrics to do away with when it came to paper.
right.
And you had already brought the program in-house, so you had realized the savings that you were gonna realize from, getting rid of the administrative costs related to the PDDs, correct?
We did realize those savings from the PDDs.
Okay. And that you claim that you're gonna pass on to the child care, the children who needed certificates?
Right.
Okay, but then when y'all got that money, you stopped reporting how many children were being added?
Your Honor, I object. This is all testimony that Ms. Ross elicited on her direct examination and not on my cross-examination. And all of this is precluding me from covering this. We've covered it, and she covered it on direct exam about bringing it in-house. So this has also been covered, but it was all covered by Ms. Ross on direct examination.
Yeah, methods that you could, use to achieve the purpose of the proposed regulation? And,
Yes.
and what was your response?
Um, we,
Dr. Dent, what was your response on the document? On the document, on the economic impact statement?
that for the state to obtain this information from providers, we would have to visit 3,500 providers and collect their sign-in and out sheets where parents sign in. And the state travel would cost thousands of dollars.
Now, the purpose of the proposed regulation was to track time and attendance, right? Okay. And so, tell me if you stated in the economic impact statement, whether you described in the economic impact statement any less intrusive or less costly alternative methods of tracking time and attendance.
We don't see that there's less intrusive methods.
So, EBT cards allow you to track time and attendance, doesn't it?
They do, but it's not as valid as a biometric system.
But it would be less intrusive, correct?
It could be.
And it could also be less costly, couldn't it?
But we wouldn't achieve the benefits of the biometric system.
You would be able to track time and attendance, right? The purpose of the regulation is to track time and attendance,
For
correct?
the biometric system.
Okay, so the only way that Mississippi can ever track time and attendance, according to you, now is through biometrics.
Because that's the proposed plan that we are going forward with.
Yeah, but we're not talking about the proposed plan that you're going forward with. I'm talking about the economic impact statement, where it asks you to describe, not if you're gonna use them, just describe any less intrusive or less costly alternative of achieving the purpose of the regulation.
We described the downfalls of utilizing the card system.
Under D, do you list any less intrusive methods?
We list that under 7, the response right below it.
But in answering D, you don't say C7, do you?
No, that is not.
And is it your testimony now that there are no less costly or less intrusive methods for tracking time and attendance?
Not that will achieve the benefits that we want to achieve with this program.
Now, you were asked in the economic impact statement about the reasonable alternative methods, and you simply answered no when you were asked if there were any less costly or less intrusive methods, right?
That's what I marked with.
But there are less costly and less intrusive methods, correct?
Not that will benefit the state.
Well, you could have explained, right? But you didn't put anything where you could explain, right?
I explained that we did not find an alternate method for a more cost-effective way to operate this program that benefits the parents
just want the record to be clear when you're saying this doesn't refer to something.
You said through your research that you found problems with the EBT card, so you felt that was not an option.
Yes.
Correct. But that was things that had happened in other states, right?
Through our research, yes.
And this was all anecdotal information, something that somebody told you, not something that you witnessed or you saw in a study.
And we've talked with people and, viewed from their, projects that they were utilizing card system.
And those card systems were used to check kids in and out.
Yes.
You said that when you visited Louisiana, you found out how their policies affected their system and their attendance policies. Right?
Yes.
And isn't it true that over 20,000 children lost their child care certificates after TOTS or finger scanning was instituted in Louisiana?
I think they identified those as fraud cases.
You think, you don't know, right?
I can't remember.
Did you ever see personally, Dr. Dent, did you do any research? You said Louisiana saved $36 million. Did you ever see that in a document?
No, not as a written document.
And you said that, with this, scanning card that y'all wanted to be able to do direct deposits.
Yes.
Y'all were not able to do that with e-ledger.
No.
You talked about all the things that, child care providers had to do with e-ledger that they wouldn't have to do with finger scanning, correct? Like they don't, with e-ledger, you said they have to go in and put in the child's attendance and it's a separate reporting system, correct? Okay, but now with finger scan, they don't have to do that.
Correct.
But they have to have somebody there to make sure that the scan is going through, correct?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
In the beginning, if they have a staff member for just a couple of weeks to start, get the parents used to checking in, checking out, and the director is supportive of the program. We have found, in the pilot project that, parents don't have any problems remembering to check in and check out.
Yeah, but that's still time. You know, you talk about, just like you're taking time to go in and record the attendance on e-ledger, you have to take time to make sure that the parents are scanning in and out correctly, right?
When the program begins, it may invest a little bit of time and get the parents used to, checking in and checking out every day. Parents have shown within the pilot program that they are, following through with their responsibilities of checking in and checking out without someone seeing.
Now, in the pilot program in the Hinds County area, you only have one center left, don't you?
Objection, Your Honor.
So they have to spend time on this finger scanning program, even though it's not time entering the dates that the
Yes.
child is present, right?
Yes.
And then they have to go back and reconcile the information from the finger scan to make sure that they're being paid correctly, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that's time too.
Yes.
And isn't it true that, you had child care providers who were experiencing difficulty in getting paid?
Same objection, Your Honor.
Systems.
If a parent, you said that in number 7 that you prefer this, biometrics program because it benefits parents and child care providers, correct?
Yes.
And the benefit to the parent is what?
And we'll have more consistent interaction with the director.
So who is to say that hand their child in and out.
I would hope that the director would see them at some point during the day.
And generally, when these people are dropping their children off, there's a requirement that they work, correct?
Either they're working or
Okay.
outside the school.
sustain.
So the benefit to the parent is that they're gonna see the child care director more often?
They're gonna, yes, they're gonna see the parent as well as other parents, for those that, could come off the waiting list.
Okay, but we're talking about the benefits of the parents and the child care providers who are in the program, right? How they're going to benefit.
Well, I consider all parents.
Okay. So, and you can, but the benefits to the parents who are currently receiving the certificates, their benefit is that they're gonna see the child care director more often.
And yes, the director and the teachers to be able to learn about their child's.
Now, are
progression.
these scanners placed inside of classrooms?
That
So I have a question.
sustain.
And the benefit to the child care providers that they're gonna receive a check every 2 weeks?
They'll receive direct deposit. That's one of the benefits, is that they will receive direct deposit every 2 weeks
And
and
any-
faster payments.
Any other benefit?
We cited that the benefit would be that they would see their parents more often, and, that, they wouldn't have to complete their e-ledgers.
No other questions, Madam?
All right, you may step down. Did you have?
I can get it on.
Okay, yeah. All right.
I had that Rick Berry interview, and I wanted to just mark it for ID only, because I believe it's a statement against interest. And, they've said that they're not going to change the way they're billing, but then you have Rick Berry, the head of the agency, out days before this hearing, saying that they're moving to actual time and attendance. And that's how Louisiana realized a big reduction, because they started paying their child care providers different, and that would be related to theirs.
Same objection we raised yesterday, hearsay is not allowed. Dr. Dent testified. Dr. Dent testified about the policy and procedures which are in place
she can declare the rule void and DHS will not be able to implement it. If she finds that DHS has in fact provided a sufficient statement, then they'll be able to proceed with the program.
And obviously, if that happens, she makes that ruling, that doesn't mean this is the end of the case.
Well, of course, the plaintiff can decide if she wants to appeal to the Supreme Court. But, you know, that's another step, and it won't necessarily stop the program from being implemented.
Give me sort of a brief synopsis of how you think your arguments went, like when you were questioning Ms. Dent. I know it had to be uncomfortable for her to be on the witness stand for the bulk of 2 days, and I guess you almost got to admit today that using the finger scanning itself can cause fraud.
Of course, there's no, when people want to commit fraud, people will find a way to commit fraud. That's with finger scanning and anything else. And, you know, there's this notion that if you have people to scan in, then that way you can assure that children are in the center, but that's absolutely false, because the only way that you can assure that a child is really in the center is to have a child scan in, or use some other device attached to a child that would let you have real time on where the child is. All we have on finger scanning, we're able to track where an individual went on a particular day and what they did. That is, somebody came to the center supposedly and scanned the finger in, but it does not mean that they brought the child there. So DHS is concerned about false attendance. Well, if you really want to make sure that the child is in the attendance center or the child care center, then you're not ensuring that through the use of finger scanning, where you're requiring some other person to scan in.
So this ruling is not going to be from the bench.
She'll issue a written order on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she's got to go through all those.
Yeah, she's got to go through all those exhibits and all of that, and she's been taking notes on it. We got our
Okay.
Trying to make you somebody.
You put in the trunk. Drum?